Hello, I'm Mr. Taylor. I'm the welding instructor at Fort Hays Career Center, and I'd like to take some time to talk to you about the course that I teach. And that course is welding, and of course is at Fort Hays Career Center. The time that the student is with me is between 7:30 in the morning and 10:15 in the afternoon time. So there's courses that I teach, and those are sheet metal arc welding, MIG welding, flux core arc welding, both inner shield and outer shield, oxy-fuel cutting, plasma cutting, air carbon arc cutting, and also TIG welding. Three types of metals that we work with are aluminum, stainless steel, and carbon steel. So the curriculum that I use is an online curriculum through Lincoln Electric, and also it has a benefit to where you can put earbuds in that Chromebook that your son or daughter will be assigned, and they also can read it to you on that online curriculum. So every day that your son or your daughter is with me, they will have an assignment both in the class and in the lab. So basically when they're with me, I give it a kind of a rundown of what an average day is for your son or daughter in my lab. School starts at 7:30. From 7:30 to about 8:15, we'll be in the classroom doing their online work. After that, we'll go into the lab. And that lab will go to about 9:30 to 9:40 in the morning time. And I give students 10 minutes before lab to change. After 10 minutes, I lock the locker room. Then after the lab time is up, around 9:40, 9:45, I will release the students after the lab is cleaned up, and then they'll go back in the locker room, and then they'll have another 10 minutes to change, and then after that I'll lock the locker room, and then they'll go to lunch, and then they'll have their lunch, and then they'll get on the bus around 10:15 to 10:20, and then that bus will take them back to their home school. So attendance is very crucial. Every day that your student, your son or daughter is with me, that they'll have a grade. And I run my shop as close to a job setting as possible because it is a career center. So I'm trying to teach them a career that they can use later on in life after they graduate. So attendance is very important, along with the assignments that I give them online and also the assignments that I give them in the lab. So basically we take raw metal, we cut it, grind it, weld it together, and your students that I have will also be responsible for all of that as they progress through my program. So let's talk a little bit about industry credentials. So the industry credentials that I offer in my welding class are forklift. They get, in their senior year, they get trained on a forklift. Also CPR and first aid, OSHA 10 class, and that OSHA 10 class is taught by a gentleman from Columbus State. So that gentleman comes into my lab and they teach the student OSHA 10 class. It's pretty much 10 hours of OSHA safety, which is very critical because a lot of employers require that when you get hired on. Also a welding certification. I teach the sheet metal arc welding and flux core arc welding, inner shield and outer shield, TIG welding, and also MIG spray arc. With all that, I try to incorporate some type of a weld certification. Everything but TIG welding we do on a 1-inch weld test for an industry certification. With the TIG welding, we do about an 8-gauge butt weld test that the students will do, but we don't do that later on until their senior year. Also, behavior expectations. I want the student to show up to class ready to work, and also the proper attitude. Just like I said, I try to run the classroom and the lab as close to a job setting. So that student has to be very professional and be very respectful while they're in the lab. So my behavior expectations are pretty high. And also, when the student shows up every day, that is a good thing because every day that they're with me, they're going to learn something about welding. So on a daily schedule, like I said, they start at 7:30 in the morning, and then they're with me in the classroom to about 8:15, and then we'll go into the lab. And before we go in the lab, they'll have 10 minutes to change, and then around 9:30, 9:40, we'll clean up the lab, and then the students will have 10 minutes to change, and then they'll go into the locker room. And then after the locker room, they'll go into lunch, and then they'll get on the bus and go back to their home school. Field trips, I take anywhere from 3 to 4 field trips a year, and we go to certain manufacturing companies here locally in Central Ohio, and also union trades. And then there the students can look firsthand on what manufacturing is, what the employer's expectations are, and gives them a good overview of what welding is. And also, I got to talk about dress code. Dress code is very important. You have to dress the part. So if you're going to be a welder, you have to dress like a welder. So that does not mean that they come to me with flip-flops or open-toed sandals or open-toed shoes, no shorts, no cut-off shirts. They have to show up with steel-toed boots, no shoes. I need boots that are above the ankle because we work with molten metal and heavy steel. So I do not need that metal to fall accidentally, on their feet. And then if they break their foot, that's pretty serious. So that's why I need steel-toed boots, denim pants with no holes in them, and a school-appropriate shirt, short-sleeve shirt that they can wear. Now, I will supply a school-issued combination lock that they can use. They can use that lock to lock up their tools, and also they can lock up their clothes, their work clothes, and that's it. So it's pretty simple. They get 10 minutes to change, before lab, and 10 minutes to change after lab. It shouldn't take a student any longer than 10 minutes to change. And then once they do that in the locker room, I lock up the locker room so no one else can get in there. And cell phone usage is big. I do not tolerate any cell phone usage in my lab or classroom. The students will have to turn in their cell phones. I have a little cabinet both in my lab and in my classroom where the students turn in their phones. I don't touch their phones. They just put it in the cabinet there, and they just leave it there. And then when the class or the lab is over, they just go get their phones, and then they go on back to their home school. So cell phone usage is very big with me. I do not tolerate any of that in the classroom. And plus, being in the lab, if the student drops the phone in the lab, or if they drop a piece of steel on, or a hot spark gets on the phone, it could damage the phone. And also, some of these welding machines produce an electromagnetic field to where if the phone gets exposed to that electromagnetic field, then it can actually damage the phone and ruin the phone. So that's why I try to have the students put the phone in a designated cabinet that's away from a lot of the welding machines to where it's actually safe. And also I'll lock up the cabinet to where no one can access it. So let me go back a little bit on dress code. I do not tolerate any saggy pants. So the student needs to have a belt to help keep the pants pulled up, and they'll have to look professional. I do have a clothes dryer and a clothes washer in my lab, so at any time when the students have their work clothes dirty, at the end of the lab, they can just put it right there in the washer and wash it, and then they'll be ready for tomorrow. And I will provide, the laundry soap for the students, because I want to make sure that the students, maintain, their clothes in good hygiene, and also, maintain in a professional manner and in appearance. So, students will have tools. So I will supply them with the tools that they need. There's a tool bag that they will be issued, and that tool bag has about 25 to 30 hand tools in it. And also they'll have a welding helmet, welding jacket, welding gloves, and a welding hat, and safety glasses. I provide them with earplugs, and so they're responsible for that. So once I give those tools to them, then they're responsible to maintain those tools, and those tools stay at the Career Center. They stay there in the locker room or in the lab, because those tools, the school still owns those tools, but the students can borrow them while they're in the program. But like I said, those tools cannot leave the lab or school grounds, and they have to stay there locked up in the locker when they're not there at school. And if the tools get damaged or broken, the student is required to replace those tools. Give a little bit of history of myself. I also graduated from Columbus City Schools. I was out in the field for at least 15, 18 years, and then I came back to teach the program. And so I know what this program can do. I think for the student that wants to learn how to weld and is very hands-on, this is a good program. I do work with employers to do job placement. If the student has good grades, good attendance, is not a disciplinary problem, and is just all around good character, can pass the employer drug test, and also if the students can maintain their professionalism and have their driver's license, have their own transportation, there is a good chance that they can have job placement after their junior year. But a lot of that, there's a lot of criteria in there right now with this COVID-19, and also if the employers I work with, they like to hire high school students, from my welding program, providing that the economy can sustain it. So contact information. Again, my name is Andy Taylor. I'm the welding instructor at Fort Hays Career Center. You can contact me at my email address, which is Taylor, all lowercase, 7282 at columbus.k12.oh.us. Again, that's Taylor, 7282 at columbus.k12.oh.us. Thank you. I'm looking forward to see your son or daughter in my welding class. You guys stay safe, and I will see you next school year. Thanks. Have a good one.